Welcome back to Roadtrip Revivals. This is Twin, my Aixam Microcar that I bought in the west of France and road trip 300 miles home. In case you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description. I called it Twin just because it says Twin on the boot lid. But basically, it got me home. It drives okay-ish. I'm going to be going through it today, seeing everything that's wrong with it. Want to know how it's constructed, how much of the chassis you can see underneath, see what actually holds this thing together. I've got the bonnet off because we're going to do a little experiment. I'm going to set up my camera looking down at the belt while we go for a drive, and we'll actually see this CVT in action. It's got a bit of an oil leak down behind the engine. I'm not sure if it's the gearbox or the engine that's leaking. It might be the fuel pump, where the fuel pump joins the engine. The gasket might be bad. Also, we need to get that fuel pump off and see why it isn't working. It also occurred to me that with a CVT, in theory, this thing can go the same speed in reverse as it can forward. That might be for later in the video. First thing anyway, we'll get it in the workshop, see if we can't sort this oil leak out, because I do hate an oil leak. Another really irritating problem we'll try and sort out is that is forward, that is meant to be neutral, but there it still wants to go forward, and down there only barely makes it into reverse, and that's only if you slam it in there. So the gear linkage needs a bit of adjustment, but that should be an easy fix. Now, is this going to fit on the scissor lift? Probably not, but let's see what happens. I think the wheelbase is too short. That's not how it's meant to go at all. That is not going to work. That is not the correct way to use a scissor lift. Please don't do that. Right, let's find out what holds this thing together. First of all, over here, we've got a tubular wishbone. Really is like a racing car. Tiny, tiny disc brakes, and that one there doesn't look like it's been doing much. See the big long coil spring, and the chassis carries on up the top there to hold the top mount in place. All the chassis looks pretty solid actually. There's a big square subframe that goes across the front here. That is all sound. And then there's a bar that runs across there, and it seems like a big box section that runs right down the sill. The same the other side, obviously. And then there's two cross pieces here that brace it all together, and then the rear trailing arms just join on to the very rear of the chassis, which is about there. That there is the gearbox, and I'm not sure if it is particularly leaky or whether it's just because I overfilled it. That's the gear cable there, and there's an adjustment there that we can fettle to get the gear selection better. See this tiny pea shooter of an exhaust and a flexible braided stainless joint there. You can see the belt from the bottom here, and the radiator. That disc looks like it's been working better, that brake. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, it's all there. It doesn't look too bad at all. Diddy little steering rack. Oh, it's a bit of a pain to get this little pump off. I had to unbolt the engine and gearbox and prise them apart slightly in the end so I could have enough room to wiggle this out. But nonetheless, here it is. And the weird thing about it is it feels like it works. That's the inlet. If I put my finger on it and pump the little lever, it seems to draw some vacuum. As you let it go, this is just a little lever here. It pushes on a diaphragm to pump the fuel, and then there's a little one-way valve coming in and out, and that's how these simple little pumps work. They're usually very reliable, but what we can do, just to test it, is stick the suction end in a little pot of diesel. Don't know if you can see that now, but it is sucking and pumping fuel just fine. So maybe it was blocked and it freed itself off after 500 kilometers of pumping air. Don't know, but anyway, it seems like it works just fine now. So I guess what we'll do is clean it up, bit of silicone on the gasket so it doesn't leak this time. Well, good progress is being made. It's been running for about 10 minutes now on its mechanical fuel pump. That seems to be working, and I'm pleased about that. Really didn't want to have to take it out again. And what else did we do? The oil seemed to have cured the oil leak. We'll know when it's driven a bit more. The other thing was we adjusted the gear linkage, and now we've got drive up there. Goes forward. Neutral. That's where it should be. And reverse is there. So that's cool. That is working a lot better as well. The other funny thing I noticed is that you can test the CVT without even driving the car. If I can get my hand down on the throttle. Watch this. Pretty neat, isn't it? I think all we really need to do is give this thing a clean up, put the tyres on, fix this left front brake that isn't working so good, maybe have a look at the rear brakes, check the lights, get the horn working, a few other little bits and bobs, and it'll be ready for its French MOT. Yeah, alloy wheel upgrade. Being as the little blue car out there isn't going back on the road again, I thought why not change from these crappy little 10-inch wheels, upgrade to the 13-inch alloy wheel. These are actually easier and cheaper to get tyres for as well. But there is a problem, I'll show you. So the stud pattern and the offset of the wheel are okay. The rolling, actually the height of the wheel and tyre is about the same. So this would have worked really well, but when I started bolting the wheel on, something didn't feel right. So I took it off again and realised that on this hub, we've got these bolt heads sticking out, and they are touching on the wheel all around there. Now I could grind or drill a bit of the wheel material away, but this is already very thin and I don't really want to risk making it weaker. And then we can't do away with these bolt heads or these bolts because that's what holds the hub to the brake disc. I'll show you what it looks like on the other car. On the blue car, the hub is slightly different and these bolts are recessed into it. So that's why it isn't an issue on there. I then got to thinking, well, maybe I could change the hub, put the bigger brake discs on as well, but then I don't know if it will fit on the upright, and then I'll end up changing the upright, and then the drive shaft won't fit, and then the steering rack length will be wrong, so you just don't know where you're going to end up stopping with all of that. So I think I have to give up with it for now. Maybe I'll come back to the wheel upgrade later. This is one of the rear wheels, and it's date coded December 1996. You can tell that's 96 because it's one digit, but it's got a little arrow. If there's no arrow, it would have been 86. With the little arrow, it's 96. But that is, well, the cars are 97, so that is an original tyre. I'm just trying to pull the rear drum off and it's a bit stuck. So I've got this massive hub puller, which should make light work of that. This thing is beefy. I bought it in an auction, I think. A rare auction bargain. Okay, there it is. So I'll just give you my tips for checking rear brakes. On your brake cylinder, usually they're one like this where you've got a piston each side here and here. And then the first thing you can do is just give it a push there on the end of the piston. Make sure it moves in and out freely. Do that both sides. And also you just want to pop back the rubber gaiter here without damaging it and see if there's any weepage of fluid behind there like there is on this one. So really that cylinder needs replacing. We'll get one of those. And then you just want to go around your brake shoes, check you've got plenty of material on there like these do, and then get in the corners and just gently with your screwdriver give it a little pry like that all around on both of them, and that will tell you if the glue is starting to fail between the material and the shoe. But again, these are okay. You want to check that your handbrake lever is not seized up. This one moves nice and freely. Normally you'll have an adjuster here that you'll want to check is moving freely as well, but this doesn't have an adjuster unusually. And then obviously you just want to give everything a clean up with some brake cleaner. Make sure your springs are in good condition. You'd be checking your wheel bearing at the same time. This isn't like a proper car, it's just got one roller bearing here, and then there's a collar, and then there's another roller bearing which is stuck in the drum there. So that's not a way a car is ever set up, but this is only very light duty, so 2 roller bearings are good enough, I guess. See here the wishbone, or the trailing arm I should say, is just a sort of a box section welded together piece, but everything is solid, and the brake cables are okay, the strut is okay, the shocks look good, so just a pair of brake cylinders. There's nothing else much to worry about here. When I bought this car and did the revival, the only parts I took with me were a new transmission belt, because I thought, well, that might shred itself, and a pair of tyres, but actually I didn't use anything. The only thing I used was a clicky-clacky pump. But it would be handy to know if this belt is the right one, and I don't really want to take it off to find out. So what I'm going to do is take a bit of wire and run it right around the circumference, make a little mark. That then gives us the full outer circumference of that belt. And we do the same thing on the car, and we'll know if it's the right belt or not. Belts are funny. You think that there's an adjustment, and if you get them the length right to within 20 or 30 millimeters, you think, the adjustment will take it up, but it's not always like that. They tend to be a bit more finicky than that. Yeah, still coming up about 10 millimeters longer on this one. But it does seem very slack as well, actually. Just wondering how you change it, actually. You can compress the pulley there. There must be a way to hold that in compression so you can get the belt off. Actually, and then it runs off. Should I do that? Will I get the new one back on afterwards? Oh, sod it, let's take it off. Easy as that, huh? Well, I hadn't intended to change the belt, but it came off so easy, I thought, well, we might as well just stick the new one on there, and then we'll at least know if it is the right one, see if it works. The old belt is not in bad condition, really. The rubber is a little bit cracked here and there, but it's still, it doesn't look excessively worn. But anyway, that'll be good to keep as a spare, assuming that this one works. And at least then we'll know if it's easy to get it on and off as well. Just to show you then exactly how this works, this is obviously the engine, there's your flywheel. This side of the pulley is fixed to the flywheel, and this cone as well is fixed, but this bit here can turn independently. So how it works is this system provides your clutch and your gearing at the same time, and when the engine's running slow at idle, or not running like now, this cone is fully open and it's not gripping on the belt here, and that means that you've got no drive. As you start to increase the revs, in here are some weights that get thrown outwards by the centrifugal force. As they do that, they ride up the inside of the cone, therefore pushing this bit across and gripping the belt. And then the faster the engine goes, the more force on those weights, the further up this cone you ride, the more you clamp down here on the belt, and the belt rides further out and out and out on the cone. And as all that is happening, this one here is sort of the same thing in reverse, but it's completely passive here. So as the belt is pulled here, the belt then is forced to drop down further down into this V, pushes against this spring, so it still clamps well on the belt, and that is your gearing. So when you go faster, you're smaller this end and bigger this end, and vice versa when you go slower. So it really is a beautifully simple system. It's not the most efficient system, but it does do the job. Actually, as I'm looking at it now, I'm starting to understand that this side of this pulley stays fixed, and then it's this side here that comes out this way when the gearing is changing. So this is fixed, and that's important because this is fixed. So it needs to be the same side that moves, otherwise the belt would be running out of line when the gears changed. But anyway, let's see if we can get this new belt on. Now if this goes on as easy as I hope it might, it'll mean that it's possible to change the belt with no tools whatsoever, which is cool. But I've put it on the front V, and now if we just push it into the back V and then turn it, will it drop in there? Feels like it might go. If we put the car in gear actually and roll it, that will turn this pulley, and that might just pop it on then. Oh, there it goes. Oh, it's on. Whew. The little blue car though, sadly, will not be going back on the road. There's just too many things against it. The paperwork has been lost, which is tricky to sort out. The keys, as we know, are lost. There's a lot of rust on the front subframe. Every ball joint gaiter has fallen apart on it. We've got the trashed bonnet. The death blow was that when we tried to open the tailgate, the hinges were seized, so as soon as we started to lift it, that went bang. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame really, because I mean, with enough time and money it could be made to live on, but you can also see that this, I think, is all worn out. This has a lot of play. And then that variator at the back there, I don't know if you can see, but that is meant to be riding on there, on that taper. So this is screwed up somehow as well, which is the reason it was originally laid up. But that doesn't mean to say this car's going to waste. I've got a plan for the engine, and the chassis is going to live on in some form as well, but that'll be a little bit down the line, bit of a winter project. I spent ages messing around with that mechanical fuel pump, getting it off, fiddling with it, checking it, putting it back on. It worked. It worked for about half an hour, and then it decided not to work again. So my solution was to put the clicky-clacky back on, but this time I've screwed it properly to the bulkhead, found some proper ignition on power for it, so that will do for that. When I drove this home and had sticking brakes and I hammered the caliper, some of you said, I bet it's the flexi that's blocked up, and you were right. And we'll just chop this one just to see the extent of it actually. Yep. There it is, closed up to almost nothing, so. All right, some new flexis, and I've got some new rear brake cylinders to go on. Then we can do the tyres, and then we can go playing again. That's the spare wheel, and that was the sound deadening material that was sat on top of it. And they've decided that they'd like to be sort of fused together forever. So go get that cleaned up with a hose and a wire brush, and then I'll show you how to change a tyre without using the tyre machine. I might have said I was changing the tyre without the tyre machine, and that's not strictly true because I did use it to break the bead. But I think when last time I was messing around with some small tyres that were 12-inch, and I realised then that was probably the limit of what my tyre machine would hold. 10, there's just no way. It should come off pretty easily with the bars, I think. I already did the other one. They look comically small when especially when the tyres are off, those 10-inch wheels. Cars just don't have 10-inch wheels anymore. Even microcars have, the new ones have 13 and 14-inch wheels, I reckon. Easy as that. All right, might as well give those a quick rattle can restoration while the tyres are off. It was all going so well until I tried to change this flexi. Got that end on all right. I came to take the union off this end, and the union snapped in half. The hex piece is inside the head of the spanner, and there's nothing left to grip on now whatsoever. And the pipe is quite long and annoying to make, so I'm going to have to cut this, I think, as close as I can to the union with the grinder, and then put a new one on, obviously, and try and re-flare it in place is going to be the plan for that. Way easier to fit than the 8-inch wheels for the other microcar. Boom. Right, I'm getting there with this one. New rear brake cylinders fitted, so all the brakes should be good now. I've bled through and changed all the brake fluids, so that should be lovely. Engine all seems healthy. One annoying thing, I bought some new tyres for it. These are a 14510. This is one of the original ones, also a 14510. But look at the difference in size. I don't know if you can quite see that, but I know the weight of the car is on that one, but the rolling diameter is a lot smaller. It just goes to show, like with 4x4s and things like that, you really need to change your tyres in sets if you've got a permanent four-wheel drive, because there can be a big difference in the rolling circumference, and that sort of thing breaks your transfer case and puts extra strain on your diff and things like that. So anyway, that smaller tyre today is going to give us a little boost of acceleration, so that might not necessarily be a bad thing for today, at least. This still hasn't had a wash since I first bought it. It's got all this crud build up here, all along there. So I just bought a new pressure washer. Here we go. I think that's looking quite sharp now. Still a bit of work to do, a bit of cleaning up on the inside and such like. Let's give it a cold start anyway. So now that the little Aixam is all sorted out properly, I figured it's time we put it to the test. Now, it's not fair to pit it up against a car, a proper car, because it isn't a proper car. So in order to make this competition fair, we're going to pit it against an e-scooter. Now, you'll probably laugh at me, but I've got into my head that this is going to be brilliant off-road. Hear me out. To go off-road, you don't necessarily need four-wheel drive, you don't need bags of power. What you do need is good ground clearance, of which we have plenty, a bit of grip, lightweight. I think this thing is going to go anywhere. So here we are, we're going to pit it against the Ausom L2 Max dual motor electric scooter. This thing is quite a beast. It's got dual 800 watt motors, a top speed of 55 kilometers an hour, which is about the same as a microcar, coincidentally, 35 miles an hour that is, 48 volt batteries, 15.6 amp hours and a 70 kilometer range. It is a flying machine this. Off the line the acceleration is quite brutal, and it's got proper coilover suspension which is adjustable, disc brakes, cable operated, all-terrain tyres which we're going to be needing later, good fair bit of ground clearance going on, again coilover on the front, same setup there, motor front and back. First we'll get to the drag racing, then we'll get to the real test, the off-roading. Muddy hill challenge, or the muddy leafy hill challenge as it is today. Oh yes. Okay, time to reduce tyre pressures I think. Right, here goes muddy leafy hill challenge for the e-scooter. This is a fair bit steeper than it looks, by the way. Oh, okay. Earlier he did it and he struggled a bit, but he had more of a run up that time. That's going to be hard to match with the car, I think. Right, this is the really steep, slippy, muddy bank challenge. And the e-scooter's going first. Oh, like it's nothing. I can't even walk up this, I don't think. No, slippy. Alright, let's try the car.
Ah! You didn't think I could do that?
This is the muddy hump challenge. I will now demonstrate how this little car will conquer this muddy hump. Uh-oh. I think the muddy hump has conquered us.
You do that and I gas.
Muddy hump was a bit too much. What's that? You struggling to get up the small muddy hill?
I can't get enough run up.
Come on, no excuses.
See? Not possible. We'll count that as a pass.
Right, here we go with the scooter versus the muddy hump then. Let's see it. Ooh, okay. Alright, he made it look quite easy, to be fair. It has got a fair bit of ground clearance, that scooter, it's not bad. I knew it'd be brilliant off-road. You don't need a great 4x4 to go off-road. You need lightweight, good ground clearance, slightly grippy tyres. You go absolutely anywhere. There's no way any sort of ordinary car would drive up that hill. I don't reckon even many 4x4s could drive up there, because with a longer wheelbase, you just beach on the middle. It's such a sharp hump. Wet leaves on a wet, muddy bank are a formidable, slippery combination, I can tell you. What a brilliant little car, honestly. You could use this on your farm, on your land, go just about anywhere, especially if you put some properly chunky tyres on it. It really would go anywhere. If you are interested in the Ausom e-scooters, I'll leave a link in the description where you should be able to find a discount code as well. They do seem very well made. There might be some more adventures coming up with this little car. There's updates coming on some of the other cars. The fastback Cortina is on the lift. I'm working on that one. I also keep forgetting to say that pretty much all the cars you see on the channel are or will be for sale. So if anything takes your fancy, hit me up. You'll find my email address in the description. I'm always open to offers, swaps. If you've got something interesting you want to do a trade on, let me know as well. I can usually arrange delivery, Europe, UK, anything like that. So anything's possible, just ask the question. I'm not entirely sure who won that competition off-road, but it doesn't really matter, does it? The scooter is very capable off-road, I can tell you that though, but so is the Microcar. They're both two-wheel drive, they're both lightweight, they're both essentially transport for teenagers. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please do subscribe, give me a like, and see you in the next video for more fun adventures.